The sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the living room, where I sat cross-legged on the floor, a bag of treats at my side, and a fluffy golden retriever puppy named Max bouncing around with boundless energy. It was the first day of our training journey, and while I felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness, I was determined to make this experience as engaging as possible for both of us. I had done my research. Countless articles and videos had promised that training a dog at home could be a rewarding and fun experience. The key, I learned, was to keep things simple, positive, and consistent. With that in mind, I took a deep breath and called Max over. He bounded toward me, his tail wagging furiously, and I could already tell he was ready for whatever adventure lay ahead. The first command I wanted to teach him was sit. I held a treat above his nose, allowing him to sniff it, and then slowly moved it back over his head. As his nose followed the treat, his bottom naturally lowered to the ground. The moment his rear touched the floor, I exclaimed, "Yes!" and rewarded him with the treat and enthusiastic praise. I had read that timing was crucial, and I wanted to make sure he understood exactly what he was being rewarded for. Max seemed to catch on quickly, and after a few repetitions, he was sitting on command more reliably. I couldn't help but laugh as he plopped down eagerly, eyes fixed on the treat in my hand. This was going to be easier than I thought, but I also reminded myself that patience would be key. Every dog learns at their own pace, and I had to be prepared for moments of confusion or distraction. Taking a break from sitting, I decided to incorporate a little playtime to keep Max engaged. I grabbed his favourite squeaky toy and tossed it across the room. He raced after it, his joyful barks filling the space. After a few minutes of play, I called him back and introduced the next command. "Come." I knelt down, opened my arms wide, and called out his name with an enthusiastic tone. "Max, come!" At first, he paused, glancing back at the toy as if weighing his options. But with a little encouragement and a treat in my hand, he made the decision to sprint back to me. When he reached me, I showered him with praise, saying, "Good boy. Yes, that's it." I repeated this process, gradually increasing the distance between us. Each successful return was met with excitement and treats, reinforcing the idea that coming to me was the best choice he could make. As the days went by, our training sessions became a part of our daily routine. I learned to keep them short and sweet, around 5 to 10 minutes, to hold Max's attention. We would train right after our morning walk when he was energized but not overly hyper. I also discovered that mixing in playtime made the sessions feel less like work and more like a fun game. One afternoon, I decided to introduce a new command: stay. I placed Max in a sitting position and held my palm out in front of him, saying, "Stay." I took a step back, watching him intently. He wiggled a bit, but managed to hold his position. I returned to him after just a moment, praised him, and rewarded him with a treat. Gradually, I increased the distance and duration of the stays, always returning to him with excitement when he succeeded. I also learned the importance of body language. I noticed that when I crouched down to his level, he was more likely to respond positively. Instead of towering over him, I made sure to approach him in a way that felt inviting and friendly. This small change made a big difference in his willingness to engage with me. As we continued our training, I became aware of the challenges that came with it. There were days when Max would be distracted by the world outside our window or just too excited to focus. On those days, I reminded myself to be patient. I would take a step back and simplify our training, focusing on commands he already knew, rather than introducing something new. I learned that it was okay to have off days. Consistency over time was what mattered most. One evening, I decided to invite a friend over to help with socialization. I had read that exposing Max to different people and environments was crucial for his development. My friend Sarah arrived with a calm demeanor, and I introduced her to Max, allowing him to sniff her hand before she offered him a treat. I watched as he cautiously approached her, tail wagging, before accepting the treat and leaning in for a scratch behind the ears. With Sarah sitting on the floor, we practiced some of the commands Max had learned. He was a little distracted at first, but with Sarah's gentle encouragement, he began to respond better. The presence of a new person added an exciting element to our training, and I could see how beneficial it was for Max to interact with someone outside of our usual routine. As the weeks turned into months, I was amazed at how far we had come together. Max was now a pro at sit, come, and stay, and we had even ventured into teaching him down and leave it. Each command was met with treats and praise, creating a positive association in his mind. I began to incorporate these commands into our everyday life, asking him to sit before meals and stay while I opened the door. It was rewarding to see him understanding that training wasn't just about sessions. It was about being a well-behaved member of our household. One day, as we were practicing outside, I decided to challenge him a bit with distractions. I set up a mini obstacle course with cones and toys, encouraging him to navigate through it while responding to commands. It was a playful way to reinforce his training while allowing him to burn off some energy. I was surprised at how well he adapted, weaving through the cones and responding to my cues, his tail wagging in sheer delight. As our training progressed, I realized the importance of celebrating small victories. Each time Max successfully followed a command, I made sure to celebrate with him, whether it was with treats, praise, or a quick game of fetch. I learned that these moments of joy not only reinforced his training, but also strengthened our bond. One afternoon, while we were practicing in the backyard, I decided to test his leave it command. I placed a treat on the ground and told him to leave it. He hesitated, his eyes locked on the treat, but with a little encouragement and the promise of a better reward, he looked up at me instead. I praised him profusely and gave him a different treat from my pocket. It was a proud moment. I could see the wheels turning in his mind as he realized that listening to me meant better things were on the way. As time went on, I found myself becoming more confident in my training abilities. I started to explore new tricks, like teaching Max to shake hands and roll over. Each new command was an opportunity for both of us to learn and grow, and I loved the creativity involved in finding ways to make the training engaging. I also learned to embrace the unpredictability that came with training a puppy. There were days when Max would surprise me with his intelligence, and others when he would completely ignore me, preferring to chase after a butterfly or chew on a stick. I learned to laugh at the little things and to take a step back when things didn't go as planned. One Saturday, I decided to host a small gathering with friends, and I was excited to show off Max's skills. As my friends arrived, I asked them to participate in a little demonstration. I had Max perform his commands, and to my delight, he executed them flawlessly. My friends cheered, and I felt a swell of pride. It was a testament to the hard work we had put in together. By the time Max was nearing a year old, I realized that training him had become a joyful part of our lives. He was not just a pet, he was a companion, a partner in adventure, and a source of endless joy. The bond we had forged through our training sessions was unbreakable, and I knew that the lessons we had learned together would last a lifetime. Reflecting on our journey, I understood that training a dog at home wasn't just about teaching commands. It was about building a relationship based on trust, communication, and love. Each session had brought us closer together, and I couldn't wait to see what new adventures awaited us in the future. As I watched Max chase after a ball, his tail wagging and his eyes sparkling with happiness, I knew that the journey was only just beginning.